Some games don't just tell a story, they make you feel like you're in it. Today, we're checking out the most cinematic games, the ones that feel like you're the main character in a movie. Big set pieces, emotional scenes, and visuals that actually stick with you. If you like fully voiced characters and story-driven gameplay, this list is for you. Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human is one of those games that just grabs you and doesn't let go. It's a story-heavy, cinematic experience where every choice actually matters. You feel it. You're in a near-future Detroit where androids, machines built to serve humans, are starting to, well, act more human than expected. The game follows 3 androids, Kara, Connor, and Marcus, and each has a totally different perspective on freedom, morality, and survival. What makes it stand out isn't just the story itself, it's the way it's presented. The visuals are insanely realistic. It honestly looks like a movie at times. The acting is fully voiced and motion captured, so the characters feel alive, not like flat game NPCs. And the story? It's branching like crazy. Your choices can completely change how each character's story ends, or even who lives and dies. That butterfly effect tension keeps you on edge the whole time. Gameplay is simple but satisfying, mostly exploration, talking to people, investigating clues, and making tough decisions under pressure. There's some action stuff too, but it's all cinematic, not mechanical. Everything serves the story. In short, it's so good because it blends movie-level visuals, strong emotional storytelling, and real consequences in a way most games just don't. You actually feel what the characters feel, and that's rare. It's basically a playable film where your choices shape the ending.
They'll destroy you, Marcus. You gotta go.
Yakuza 0. Yakuza 0, this one's a wild ride. Honestly, it's like stepping into a living, breathing movie set from the 80s in Japan, and you're the main guy walking through it, just trying to survive while chaos happens all around you. You follow 2 characters here, Kiryu and Majima, and both of them have their own insane stories that somehow collide in ways that feel supernatural. The streets are packed with people, neon lights everywhere, tiny little shops, karaoke bars, vending machines, you name it. It feels alive. You could just wander around and still feel like you're part of the city, like it has its own heartbeat and you're just along for the ride. The fights in this game are something else. It's not just button mashing, it's like watching a choreography of chaos. You grab a bike, a sign, even a traffic cone sometimes, and just go to town. And somehow it feels cinematic. You feel like the hero of a movie right in the middle of a fight scene. The game knows how to make you feel powerful without being ridiculous, and each battle has that satisfying punchy feel that makes you want to keep going, even if you're just beating up random thugs in an alley. And the way the story flows in between the action, man, it's so well paced. Serious, dramatic, full of betrayal and twists, but also funny and ridiculous at the same time. Like, one minute you're deep in a gangster drama, the next you're running a cabaret club or playing a weird arcade minigame, and it all somehow fits together. The characters feel alive too. Kiryu and Majima, you actually feel for them. Their struggles, their fights, their loyalty, the stuff they're willing to do for honor, it hits hard. And it's all voiced so well, so natural, so much emotion packed in. You don't just read it on screen, you hear it, feel it, like they're right there in the room with you. And the city itself isn't just a backdrop, it's a character too. The way people go about their day, the random encounters, the side stories, it all adds depth. You could play for hours just exploring and still feel like there's always something new to see. And somehow, even with all the crazy side stuff, the story keeps pulling you back. The drama, the tension, the stakes, it never lets up. You really feel like you're in a living, breathing movie playing the main role. Yakuza 0 is one of those games where the world, the characters, the fights, the story, it all comes together perfectly to make you feel like you're living the movie, not just watching it. And the best part? Even after hours, it still feels fresh. Every alley, every fight, every weird side quest, it's like the city never sleeps, and neither does the story. Quantum Break. Quantum Break is one of those games that really tries to blend a movie and a game in a way you don't see a lot. It's made by Remedy, the same studio that did Max Payne and Alan Wake, so you can feel their style all over it. The world is this modern-day city, but with time breaking apart, and that's where the game really shines. Things freeze mid-air, debris floats, and you get these time powers that let you manipulate the world. You can stop bullets, freeze enemies, use objects around you as weapons, or just move through the environment in ways that feel clever. The gameplay has this kind of structured action set-piece vibe, like every fight is set up almost like a scene in a movie. You switch between normal shooting and using your time abilities, and the game encourages you to think about how to chain them together. You can slow down time around yourself to dodge bullets, stop enemies in place, throw objects at them, or combine attacks in a way that feels strategic but still cinematic. The levels are designed to show off your powers without ever feeling too confusing, and the way the environment reacts, like frozen glass or cars stuck mid-flip, makes it feel alive. The live-action cutscenes are part of what makes it unique. Remedy actually filmed actors for the story segments, and the game mixes those with your gameplay choices so that it feels like the story adapts to what you do. It's not just a cutscene you watch after finishing a level, it flows into the gameplay, which is pretty impressive for when it came out. The game didn't do super well commercially, and a lot of people kind of skipped it, which is a shame because it has a lot of interesting ideas. The story is solid, the powers are fun, and the level design is smart, but it just didn't get the attention it deserved. It's kind of underrated, and looking back, it feels ahead of its time in how it tried to merge a cinematic experience with interactive gameplay. If you're into games where the story and the world feel connected to your actions, where the environment is part of the fun, and where the studio clearly tried to push the medium a bit, Quantum Break is worth checking out, even if it flopped a bit and flew under the radar. Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, this one's a pretty solid pick if you want that playing a movie vibe without it feeling like it's trying too hard. You play as Star-Lord, leading the team through this galaxy full of weird aliens, huge ships, crazy planets, and of course all the jokes and banter that Guardians are known for. The world is really colorful and alive, and the game does a good job of making it feel like you're actually flying around space with this group instead of just moving from mission to mission. The gameplay mixes combat and story really well. You've got normal shooting, and then you can issue commands to your team. Tell Rocket to do something, send Groot in, or have Gamora hit a target. It's not super complicated, but it gives a sense that the team is actually reacting to what you do, which makes it feel like a real adventure. And the powers each character has are fun, so combat feels dynamic, not just point and shoot. The fights are fast enough to stay exciting, but slow enough that you can actually enjoy the action and the environment around you. The story is written like an actual Marvel movie, with humor, drama, and moments that hit emotionally. And all the dialogue is fully voiced, with the actors doing a great job, so the team actually feels like a family, even when they're arguing or making dumb jokes. The game doesn't waste time with filler. Most missions are tied to story or character development, which keeps it feeling like you're in a movie rather than just playing a game. Another thing is how the game handles exploration. It's not open world or bloated, but the areas you go through are detailed and fun to poke around in. Little side interactions, collecting gear, talking to crew members, small things that make the world feel lived in. It's a game that knows what it wants to be, and it sticks to it. A cinematic, story-driven adventure with fun combat and a strong sense of character. The only reason it might get overlooked is that it's not huge or groundbreaking in gameplay, but it nails the movie feel better than a lot of bigger titles. It's just a well-made, story-focused adventure that's enjoyable to play and watch unfold.
The locals did not appreciate us hauling them onto our ship.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This one's kind of interesting because it's trying to be this big cinematic Star Wars game while still letting you feel like you're actually doing stuff. You play as Cal Kestis again, a Jedi who's trying to survive after the Empire's chasing him down, and the world really feels lived in. Cities, forests, old temples, broken ships, all the small details make it feel like a real Star Wars universe, not just levels thrown together. The gameplay is really focused on lightsaber combat and force powers. You're not just swinging around randomly. Timing, blocking, dodging, and using your power strategically matters, and the enemies scale well so it feels challenging but fair. You also have the droid companion, BD-1, which is more than just a helper. It interacts with the environment, opens paths, and even gives little story bits. The way Cal moves through the world, climbing, jumping, wall running, it all feels fluid, like you're actually a Jedi exploring these planets. Story-wise, it keeps that cinematic vibe strong. The cutscenes and dialogue are fully voiced, and it flows naturally into gameplay, so you never feel like you're being yanked out of the action. Choices aren't really a big thing here, but the story is tight, with some character development that makes you care about Cal and the people he meets. One thing that stands out is how the game balances big set pieces with quieter moments. You'll have intense fights with multiple enemies, then you get to explore a new area, solve environmental puzzles, or just watch the world feel alive. And visually, it's strong. Lighting, effects, particle work, it all feels Star Warsy without being over the top. It's a solid follow-up to Fallen Order, and it kind of flew under the radar compared to bigger AAA releases, but it nails that playing a movie feel. You feel like a Jedi, the world reacts to you, the story moves forward naturally, and the gameplay supports it instead of getting in the way.
See? You made it. I sat in the writer's room and wrote a...
Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is really something Remedy built with care. The first thing you notice is how the world feels layered and detailed. The forests, small towns, abandoned cabins, they all have a weight to them, like someone actually lives there or used to. Every light source, every shadow, every flicker in the environment matters. And the way it ties into the gameplay makes exploration feel tense and meaningful. You're not just walking through empty scenery, the world reacts to you in ways that make every step feel deliberate. The gameplay is clever because it's built around using light to survive. You can't just shoot enemies and move on. You have to think about positioning, when to use flares, how to manipulate the environment to your advantage. There's a rhythm to it. You're constantly switching between combat, moving through areas carefully, and scanning for clues about what's going on. It makes the combat feel smart without ever being too complicated, and it keeps you on edge in a natural way. Remedy also nails pacing. There are moments of quiet where you can explore, find notes, piece together Alan's story, or just absorb the environment. Then suddenly things shift, and you're back in a high-tension encounter. It never feels repetitive, because the quiet moments make the action hit harder, and the way they mix story and gameplay keeps you engaged. The narrative is strong. Characters feel real, fully voiced, and their reactions are grounded. Alan's struggles, both psychological and external, are woven into the world so that you're always aware of the stakes. Even minor details, the way a room is set up, the weather, or a shadow moving in the distance, builds tension and adds context to the story. One of the most impressive things about Alan Wake 2 is how intentional everything feels. Remedy designed the levels, combat, and story so that they feed into each other. Nothing feels random. Even though it's slower paced than some action games, that's what makes it stick. You feel the weight of the story and the environment, and it keeps pulling you in. It's also kind of underrated. The first game got a cult following, but a lot of people skipped this one, which is a shame because it's smart, atmospheric, and really polished. Every element, from the level design to combat to story, is meant to keep you absorbed, and it does that in a way that few other games manage. Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is just ridiculously well put together. The world is massive and detailed, but never overwhelming. Every location feels like it belongs to the story, from crumbling pirate towns to lush mountains and hidden caves. The environments are packed with small details, things that make the places feel lived in, like someone actually built or lived there. You're not just moving from checkpoint to checkpoint. You can explore a little, see how things interact, and get small rewards, but it never distracts from the story. Gameplay is super tight. Nathan Drake's movement feels natural. Climbing, jumping, and swinging from ropes all flows together. The combat mixes gunfights, stealth, and environmental interactions in a way that never feels repetitive. You get to take cover, flank enemies, or improvise using objects around you, which keeps every encounter feeling dynamic. And the pacing between exploration, puzzle sections, and action is just right. The game knows when to slow down for a cinematic moment or conversation, and when to throw you into a big set piece. The story is strong because the characters feel real. Nathan, Sully, Sam, and Elena all have their own personalities, and their interactions make you care about them, without the game having to force it. It's not just about treasure hunting, it's about family, loyalty, regret, and all those personal stakes that make the story feel grounded, even in the crazy situations you get into. And the way everything is presented, camera angles, animations, transitions between cutscenes and gameplay, is seamless. You rarely feel like you're watching a cutscene. It feels like you're in control, but also in a well-directed cinematic experience. Every major set piece is designed so you feel the scale and tension without it ever getting chaotic or confusing. Uncharted 4 is also one of those games that shows how much polish can matter. Little details like Nathan brushing dirt off his clothes, characters reacting to the environment, or even the way the sun hits a jungle canopy make the world feel alive. It's not just pretty, it's believable. And the way it all comes together, the story, gameplay, and world, makes it feel like a fully realized adventure, rather than just a sequence of levels.
The lost city's up there, somewhere.
That's gonna be a...
Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider is really about making you feel like you're moving through a believable, dangerous world. The environments are huge and detailed. You've got snowy mountains, abandoned villages, underground tombs, and forests that all feel lived in and like they belong in a real place. Every area has hidden spots, collectible artifacts, and environmental puzzles that make exploring feel rewarding without ever being a grind. The way the weather, lighting, and day-night cycles change adds to the realism so it never feels static. Gameplay is a mix of exploration, combat, and problem-solving, and it flows really well. Laura's movement feels natural. You climb, swing, shimmy along ledges, rappel, and glide with her tools in ways that feel intuitive. Combat balances stealth, ranged attacks, and improvised weapons. You can plan your approach, set traps, or just charge in guns blazing. The game makes sure every encounter feels like part of the world rather than a set of random fights. The story is surprisingly grounded for an adventure game. Laura is still chasing answers about her father's research and these ancient artifacts, but the game focuses a lot on her personal stakes, her motivations, and how she reacts under pressure. The characters she interacts with feel real, and their conversations add to the tension and world building. It's not just an action game, it's a story about obsession, survival, and the cost of what she's doing. Cinematic moments are everywhere, but they're subtle. The camera framing, the way scenes transition into gameplay, the environmental storytelling, they all pull you in without making it feel forced. When Laura enters a tomb or uncovers a secret, it doesn't just show a cutscene, it makes you feel like you're discovering it yourself. The pacing between intense action, exploration, and quieter story beats keeps things engaging throughout. The attention to detail is what really sells it. Laura brushing snow off her shoulders, the sounds of wildlife, environmental hazards like avalanches or collapsing structures, it all adds weight to the world. Everything is designed to make you feel like you're actually there, moving through a dangerous but beautiful environment. Rise of the Tomb Raider manages to combine exploration, combat, and story in a way that feels seamless. It's polished, the world reacts to your actions, and the story keeps you invested without ever slowing down the gameplay. It's one of those games that really knows what it wants to be and executes it cleanly.
Tommy, listen to me. He is the contractor.
The Last of Us. The Last of Us really nails the way a world can feel lived in. You're in a post-apocalyptic United States, and everything reflects that. Cities are overgrown, streets are cracked, abandoned cars everywhere, nature slowly taking back the world. Even small details, graffiti, notes, the way rooms are arranged, make it feel like people were living here before things went wrong. The world itself tells stories if you pay attention. Gameplay mixes stealth, combat, and exploration in a way that feels natural. You're not just running and shooting. Ammo is scarce, Enemies are smart, and every fight can go wrong if you rush it. You're encouraged to think, plan, and adapt, which makes encounters tense and satisfying. Crafting is simple but meaningful. You can make health kits, molotovs, shivs, and it all feels tied to survival, not just a menu system. Stealth is a big part of it, sneaking past infected or human enemies, using the environment to your advantage, and the AI reacts in believable ways. Story is where it shines. Joel and Ellie's relationship drives everything. The characters feel real. Their voices, gestures, reactions, everything is grounded. You feel their struggles, losses, and small moments of humor or tenderness, and that makes you care about their survival. Cutscenes flow seamlessly into gameplay so that you rarely feel like you're being pulled out of the action. Even during tense combat, the story feels present, and the stakes always feel personal. The game also does pacing really well. Quiet exploration, searching for supplies, listening to conversations, and environmental storytelling mix with high-stakes combat to create a rhythm that keeps you engaged. There's a lot of tension in how the game controls the world. Enemy placement, sightlines, sounds, all of it makes the world feel alive and dangerous. One of the most impressive things is the attention to detail. The way Joel carries his weapons, interacts with objects, and even the subtle animations in Ellie's behavior make the world feel real. You're not just following a story, you're inhabiting a world, making decisions that matter, and reacting to situations that feel unpredictable. The Last of Us doesn't need flashy gimmicks to feel cinematic. Everything, from the world design to gameplay to character interactions, is crafted to make you feel grounded, invested, and emotionally involved. It's immersive in a quiet, natural way that stays with you long after you put the controller down. God of War Ragnarök. God of War Ragnarök is built to feel huge without ever being overwhelming. The world is massive, from frozen mountains to icy plains to hidden realms, but everything feels intentional. The environments are packed with detail. Runestones, forests, caves, villages, and they're all designed to make you feel like you're moving through a real, lived-in world. Even small touches, like snow piling up on Kratos' shoulders or the way leaves rustle when you walk, make the world feel alive. Gameplay is a mix of tight, weighty combat and exploration. Kratos' axe and Leviathan abilities feel responsive, and the way you can chain attacks, parries, and renuke abilities together makes fights feel cinematic without being flashy for no reason. Enemies are smart and varied, and the encounters encourage you to adapt. Sometimes brute force works, sometimes stealth or strategy works better. There's also puzzles and environmental navigation that break up the fights and keep exploration interesting, but they're always connected to the story or world, never just filler. The story is strong because it's personal. Kratos and Atreus' relationship drives the narrative, and the game spends time showing their growth, their arguments, and their moments of care. Other characters, gods, and creatures feel alive too. Their personalities, dialogue, and reactions all make the world feel lived in. Cutscenes flow directly into gameplay, so you rarely feel like the story is separate from the action. Even during fights, the context and stakes feel meaningful. Ragnarök also nails pacing. Big battles and set pieces are balanced with quieter, story-driven moments. You get time to explore, talk with characters, or just soak in the environment, and then the game ramps up tension again with boss fights or dramatic events. Everything feels intentional. The level of polish is insane. The animations, lighting, and sound design all contribute to immersion. Weapons feel heavy, enemies hit hard, and the world reacts realistically to your actions. Little details, like how Kratos interacts with objects or the environment, make the world feel tangible. Overall, God of War Ragnarök is cinematic not because it shoves cutscenes at you, but because every element, combat, exploration, story, and world design works together naturally. It's immersive, grounded, and detailed, and it makes you feel like you're part of something epic without ever feeling artificial or forced. Insomniac Spider-Man 2018. Spider-Man 2018 is one of those games where swinging through the city actually feels fun and natural. New York is huge, detailed, and alive. Streets are packed with cars, pedestrians, and little random events happening all around. You can swing, zip, and wall run smoothly, and it all flows together in a way that feels effortless. It's the kind of movement that makes you feel like you're actually Spider-Man, not just controlling a character on a screen. The combat is fast, fluid, and smart. You're not just mashing buttons. You can dodge, web enemies, use gadgets, and combine attacks to chain combos. Each fight feels dynamic because the enemies react to your moves and the environment, and the game encourages you to move around and use your surroundings. You can throw a car, web someone to a wall, or take out groups with acrobatic flair. It never feels repetitive because you're always improvising in the moment. Story-wise, it's grounded and well-paced. Peter Parker has a lot going on, his personal life, his relationships, and being Spider-Man, and the game balances all of it. Characters are fully voiced, the dialogue feels natural, and the cutscenes flow seamlessly into gameplay. It doesn't feel like the story is separate from the action. You're constantly in the world, and the stakes feel real. The world is packed with details. Random crimes, side missions, and little interactions make the city feel alive. You can stop and help someone, take down a robbery, or just swing around and enjoy the skyline. The level of polish in animation, lighting, and sound makes the world feel tangible and immersive. Even small touches, like web swinging through rain or seeing reflections on windows, add to the realism. Insomniac did a great job balancing cinematic moments with gameplay. Big set pieces feel impactful, but they're never just spectacle. They're tied to the story or your actions. Side missions and exploration are optional but meaningful, and everything contributes to making the city feel like a living place. Overall, Spider-Man 2018 nails that feeling of being in a superhero story. The movement, combat, story, and world all come together naturally, making it easy to get lost in the game without it ever feeling forced or over the top.
Wait, you? 'Cause I can!
Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is one of those games that just makes you want to wander. You're on Tsushima Island, and it feels like a real place that existed long before the game started. Fields sway in the wind, rivers curve through forests, and villages feel lived in. Even small details, like a dog barking in the distance or a lone boat on the water, make the world feel alive without ever being forced. The island isn't just a backdrop, it's a character in its own right. Combat is tight but never overwhelming. Jin's sword swings with weight and precision, and switching stances to match different enemies feels natural. You can rush in and fight head-on, or take a quieter approach, sneaking through shadows and using bows, smoke bombs, or grappling tools to set up an ambush. Every encounter feels like it has multiple solutions, and the enemies react in believable ways, which makes fights tense without ever frustrating. What really sells the game is how it blends story and action. Jin's journey isn't just about fighting, it's about what kind of warrior he wants to be, and that shows in every choice and confrontation. Characters feel grounded, the dialogue flows naturally, and cutscenes don't pull you out of the action, they slide right into gameplay. Even during tense battles, you get a sense of the story unfolding around you. Exploration is a big part of the charm. You can follow the wind to a new location, stumble on shrines tucked away in forests, or just ride across the island soaking in the scenery. Everything has texture, architecture, animals, weather changes, and it all contributes to the feeling that you're actually living on the island. The pacing is smart too. There are quiet stretches where you're just traveling, exploring, or reflecting on the story, and then it hits you with sudden Mongol attacks or intense duels. It keeps things balanced so the world never feels empty, but the story never feels rushed. Ghost of Tsushima isn't flashy for the sake of it. It's about giving you a believable world, smooth and engaging combat, and a story that unfolds naturally as you play. By the time you're moving through the island, fighting and exploring, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like you're experiencing a living, breathing story.
You kill him! Rest of you,
Let's ride!
Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 is huge, but it doesn't feel like a game forcing you to run around. The world feels alive. Towns, rivers, forests, mountains, everything has its own personality. You can ride through a forest and hear birds, see deer, maybe stumble on a random stranger with a story. Even small things like smoke from chimneys or footprints in the mud make the place feel real. It's not just a map you move through, it's a world you live in for a while. The gameplay is smooth and natural. Riding horses, climbing, shooting, sneaking, it all fits together. The guns feel heavy and realistic, so fights have weight. You can take your time, plan your attacks, or just rush in. Hunting is a big part too. You track animals, skin them, and use the meat or pelts for crafting. Everything has a purpose, and it makes exploring fun instead of boring. Even little things like brushing your horse or cleaning your gun add to the immersion. The story is solid and grounded. You follow Arthur Morgan and the gang as they try to survive while the world is changing. Characters feel real. You see them argue, joke, and react to things naturally. Cutscenes flow right into gameplay, so it feels like you're part of their life, not just watching it. Even side characters have personality. Talking to strangers or doing small missions gives you a sense that this world exists outside your story. The game's pacing is smart. There are big action moments like shootouts or gang attacks, and quieter times where you ride through the countryside, hunt, or explore towns. The balance keeps it from feeling overwhelming or boring. What really makes it stand out is the little details. The way snow sticks to your coat, the weather changing while you travel, or your horse reacting to your commands. All of it makes you feel like you're really there. It's not flashy or over the top, it's just believable, immersive, and grounded. Overall, Red Dead Redemption 2 nails that feeling of being part of a living world. You care about the story, the characters, and the places you visit. It's slow at times, but in a way that pulls you in instead of boring you. Every ride, every fight, every small interaction makes you feel like you're living in that world for real. Life is Strange. Life is Strange feels like you're stepping straight into a teen drama movie, but you get to be part of it. The game does an amazing job of showing you everything through the camera, the framing, and the way scenes are cut together. Walking through Blackwell Academy, hanging out in Max's dorm, or following Chloe down the streets, it all looks like it's filmed for a movie. The rewind mechanic isn't just gameplay, it's like editing your own story. You can see the same scene from a different angle, try out different dialogue, or change a small action and it shifts how people react. That gives it this movie-like feeling where you're controlling the plot, but the world still feels directed and intentional. Every conversation has pauses, glances, and reactions that feel natural, like actors actually performing rather than text on a screen. The story hits hard because it's layered. Max and Chloe's friendship, the mystery about Rachel, and the quiet little secrets scattered around Arcadia Bay all unfold in ways that feel paced like a film.
Nice wheels.
Emotional beats aren't rushed. You have time to absorb a quiet scene, then tension ramps up, and the game cuts between different points of view just like a well-edited movie. It's not flashy action, it's human, grounded, and cinematic in a subtle way. Even the music and sound design make it feel like a movie. Background songs, footsteps in hallways, wind through trees, and the way voices carry in the environments all pull you into the scene. You're not just playing, you're living a story where you have control over how it plays out. And that's what makes it feel like a movie rather than a game. Life is Strange shows that a game can be cinematic without explosions or set pieces. It's all about framing, pacing, acting, and letting you interact with it naturally. Every decision, glance, and step you take feels part of a larger story, and it sticks with you like a film you can pause, rewind, and watch again from a different angle.
I was born with a strange gift. The ability.
Beyond Two Souls. Beyond Two Souls is a story-driven game where you play as Jodie, a girl who's connected to a mysterious spirit called Aiden. From the start, the game takes you through her life, from childhood to adulthood, showing how she grows up while living with this strange connection. The story isn't told in order. You jump back and forth in time, which means you see important moments in her life at different points. It keeps the story interesting because you're always learning more about her past and how it shapes her. Gameplay is mostly walking around, interacting with people and objects, and controlling Aiden to help Jodie. You don't fight a lot, but sometimes there's action, like sneaking past guards or surviving dangerous situations. Aiden can move through walls, pick up objects, or even scare enemies, and you switch between him and Jodie depending on the scene. Choices you make in conversations or actions change how characters respond and even how some scenes play out, so you can experiment without being punished. The environments are detailed, but the game isn't about huge open worlds. You spend most of your time in locations that fit the story, like Jodie's home, school, or research facilities, and the level of detail makes them feel real. Characters move and react naturally, with facial expressions and gestures that match what they're saying. The story mixes normal life moments, school, friendships, family, with supernatural moments thanks to Aiden, which gives the game a unique tone. The pacing is calm but engaging. Some scenes are quiet and focus on Jodie's emotions or relationships, and other scenes are tense or dramatic. It doesn't feel rushed, and you get time to explore small details in the environment, talk to characters, or just experience the world. The game is more about feeling Jodie's life and connection to Aiden than about action or puzzles. Overall, Beyond Two Souls is a slow, emotional experience. You follow Jodie through her life, make choices, and see how her connection to Aiden changes her story. It's simple to play, easy to follow, and the focus is entirely on the characters and their journey.
I want to go now.
Right. Yeah, we're leaving.
Mafia Definitive Edition. Mafia Definitive Edition is like stepping straight into a 1930s gangster movie. You play as Tommy Angelo, a regular cab driver who accidentally gets dragged into the world of organized crime. At first, it's small stuff, running errands for the Salieri family, helping out in minor ways. But before you know it, you're pulling off robberies, stealing cars, and dealing with rival gangs. What makes it interesting is that the game doesn't just throw missions at you. You actually get to see Tommy's life change, how he reacts to things, and how the people around him treat him differently as he climbs deeper into the family. It feels alive, like a story you're part of, not just a game you're completing. Driving is huge here, and it actually feels realistic for the era. Cars are heavy and take a second to handle, the streets are narrow and full of life, and getting chased by cops or rival gangsters can get tense without ever being unfair. You'll notice little things like pedestrians walking, neon signs flickering, shop windows, or even people gossiping on street corners, and all of that makes the city feel real. Driving through it at night, lights reflecting on the wet streets, it feels like something out of a classic black and white movie, but you're controlling it. Combat is simple but grounded. Cover, aiming, shooting, it's straightforward, but it makes every encounter feel deliberate. You'll need to think about positioning, and sometimes you'll find yourself ducking behind a car while bullets fly past. Enemy AI reacts believably, so it's not just button-mashing chaos. The game also mixes in a few cinematic shootouts where everything slows down just a touch, making you feel like you're in the middle of an actual movie scene without it being over the top. The story itself is really the heart of the game. Tommy isn't just a gangster. You get glimpses of his personality, humor, and doubts. He interacts with people in ways that feel natural. You see his relationships with the Salieri family evolve, watch rivalries grow, and witness the consequences of choices he makes. Cutscenes blend right into gameplay, so you never feel like you're leaving the story behind. Even quieter moments, like cruising through the city at dawn or sitting in a diner after a heist, give you a sense of life outside the action. Those little pauses make the world feel lived in and make the intense moments hit harder. One of the best things about Mafia Definitive Edition is how it balances story and gameplay. Missions have purpose, but the world itself is detailed enough that you can just explore a little if you want. You can drive around, take in the architecture, watch people go about their lives, and it all contributes to that sense of immersion. You really feel like you're in a different time and place, not just playing levels.
You were Dad's biggest mistake, but I will fix it!
A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem picks up where the first game left off, and it's all about following Amisha and her little brother Hugo as they try to survive in a world falling apart. The story hits hard because it's always personal. You're not just wandering around fighting monsters or zombies. The danger feels real because you're protecting Hugo, and you see how both of them grow as the story goes on. Everything you do matters in a small, quiet way, and that makes it feel like a movie you're stepping into rather than a regular game. Gameplay mixes stealth, exploration, and some action. You sneak past soldiers, lead rats away, and use tools and distractions to get through tricky spots. The rats are always present, a constant threat that makes even ordinary hallways tense. Combat is limited, but that's intentional. It keeps the focus on thinking your way through problems and staying alive, rather than just shooting your way out. The mix of stealth and danger keeps you engaged and makes every scene feel suspenseful, almost like watching a thriller unfold. The world is detailed and grim, but beautiful in its own way. Towns are ruined, rivers are dark, forests feel alive, and the weather changes naturally. Lighting and shadows are used so well that even simple areas feel cinematic. You can pause for a moment and just look around, and it feels like you're in a painting or a carefully framed film scene. The environments aren't huge open worlds, but they're crafted so that every corridor, building, or street matters to the story and atmosphere. The story pacing is excellent. There are quiet moments where you explore, care for Hugo, or solve environmental puzzles. And then the tension ramps up suddenly with soldiers, rats, or other threats. It makes you feel like you're on a journey with these characters, not just moving from one mission to the next.
Are you hurt?
No.
Until Dawn. Until Dawn is basically a horror story you get to be part of. You follow a group of friends stuck on a mountain, and everything that happens depends on the choices you make. The story jumps around between characters, so you see different perspectives and slowly piece together what's going on. It's like watching a teen horror movie unfold, but you're controlling what happens to each person. Gameplay is mostly walking, exploring, and making decisions. You'll pick up objects, look for clues, and react to situations by choosing dialogue or actions. The butterfly effect system means every choice can change the story later, sometimes in surprising ways. One small decision early on can save someone or get them killed later, which adds tension and makes every moment feel meaningful. The world itself feels like a movie set. The mountain, the cabins, the forests, and the caves all look detailed and atmospheric. Lighting, shadows, and the way the camera moves make it feel like a horror film that's actually happening around you. You don't just see the story, you feel it. Random sounds, flickering lights, or characters moving in the distance make it tense and immersive. The characters feel alive too. They joke, fight, get scared, and argue just like real people would in that situation. Voice acting and facial animations are solid, so cutscenes blend seamlessly into gameplay. You're constantly switching between characters, and that keeps the story moving like a film with multiple storylines converging. Until Dawn nails pacing. There are quiet moments of exploring or talking, and then it hits you with sudden scares or intense chase scenes. It's not constant action, it builds tension like a movie, then releases it in bursts that keep you on edge. Overall, Until Dawn isn't about crazy mechanics or long exploration. It's about the story, the characters, and the choices you make. The way it's presented, through cinematic camera angles, natural dialogue, and tense scenes, makes it feel like you're playing a horror movie instead of just a game. You're right there with the characters, feeling their fear, making their decisions, and watching the story unfold.
What is going on here?
Oh god, it's like...
It's not like...
Who has a transmitter? Here, monsieur. Use my communicator.
The Order 1886. The Order 1886 is kind of a weird game, but in a good way. It's short, like you can finish it in a few hours if you focus, but it feels like you're watching a really polished, old-school movie the whole time. From the moment you start playing, the game nails that cinematic vibe. Every scene feels like it's framed by a director. The camera angles, slow hands, close-ups during conversations, and even the way it cuts between action and dialogue make it feel like a film you're starring in. You don't just play the story, you experience it. You play as Galahad, a knight in a secret order tasked with protecting London from these half-breeds, which are basically monsters, while also dealing with the politics of the order itself. The story isn't super long or complicated, but it's well told. It mixes action with quieter moments like exploring the city or walking through foggy streets, and that makes it feel grounded. Characters talk, argue, and interact naturally, so you feel like you're really in that world. The story has a few twists, but the main appeal is just seeing this alternate, steampunky London and the drama unfolding in it. Gameplay is mostly cover-based shooting. It's simple, but it works because the game isn't trying to be huge or complex. You take cover, shoot, sometimes do quick-time events, and occasionally solve minor environmental puzzles. Combat isn't the main draw. It's just a way to move the story forward while keeping the tension up. Because the game is short, nothing overstays its welcome. You're in and out, moving from one cinematic set piece to another. Visually, this game was insane when it came out. It was one of the best looking PS4 games at the time, and honestly, it still holds up. The streets of London, the interiors, lighting, fog, reflections on wet cobblestone, all of it feels alive and cinematic. Even the small touches, like carriages on the street, pedestrians, and subtle background animations make the city feel real. It's not a huge open world, but what's there is meticulously crafted. Every frame looks like it belongs in a movie. The Order flopped a bit when it came out. People expected a massive PS4 blockbuster with hours and hours of gameplay, and it didn't deliver that. But if you're not worried about length and just want a cinematic experience, it's actually a cool ride. The pacing is solid, quiet scenes let you take in the world, and action sequences are short but tense. You never feel bored, and it keeps you invested the whole way through. Overall, The Order 1886 is short, cinematic, and visually stunning. It's more about story, atmosphere, and mood than big open-world gameplay or grinding. It flopped when it launched, but it's still worth experiencing if you want a neat, movie-like adventure that looks amazing and tells a straightforward, tense story. It's like a little film you get to play through, and that's honestly kind of rare. Ryse, Son of Rome. Ryse, Son of Rome is one of those games that feels like you're stepping straight into a big, epic Roman movie. You play as Marius, a Roman soldier whose family gets killed, and the story follows him on a quest for revenge. The game is pretty short, you can finish it in a few hours, but it's structured almost like a film, with each mission feeling like a well-directed scene. From the opening, it's clear the game cares about presentation. Cutscenes blend right into gameplay, camera angles shift during fights, and every location is designed to look epic and cinematic. Combat is simple but satisfying. You mainly fight with swords and shields using attacks, blocks, and counters. It's not super complicated, but the animations are so polished that every swing and strike feels heavy and real. The game also uses slow motion during critical hits or cinematic sequences, which makes big fights feel like set pieces in a movie rather than just routine battles. You're mostly moving from one scripted encounter to the next, but it works because the story and presentation carry you forward. The world looks incredible, especially for the time it came out. Rome and surrounding areas are huge, detailed, and vibrant, with crowds, architecture, and environments that really sell the historical setting. Cities feel alive, people walking, soldiers patrolling, banners waving, and battlefields are huge and chaotic, with soldiers clashing all around you. It's not open world, but the game's design makes every area feel like a carefully framed scene from a movie. Story-wise, Ryse is simple but effective. Marius' journey is personal, and the game focuses on his revenge and the struggles of the Roman army. It's not about twists or complicated plots, it's about seeing the action, feeling the weight of battles, and watching the story unfold in a cinematic way. Voice acting and facial animations are solid, making the characters feel real, and cutscenes transition smoothly into gameplay, which keeps you immersed. Ryse, Son of Rome was kind of overlooked when it came out. It wasn't a huge hit, probably because it's short and very linear, but it still stands out because of how cinematic it is. Every fight, every set piece, every moment is framed and presented in a way that feels like a real movie. It's more about the spectacle and story than deep gameplay mechanics, and that's what gives it its unique vibe.
Is no import. My story, however, is.
I'm Detective Phelps of the LAPD.
How can I help, Detective?
Your name would be a good.
L.A. Noire. This is one of the underdog kind of game by Rockstar Games, and probably one of the best slow burn ones. You play as Cole Phelps, a cop in 1940s Los Angeles, and the game follows his career as he rises through the police department, solving crimes and uncovering corruption. The story is really the main focus, and everything else is built around it. From the moment you step into the city, it feels alive. The streets, cars, and people moving around make it feel like you're in a real, functioning world. Gameplay is a mix of investigation, driving, and occasional shooting. Most of the game is about solving cases. You talk to witnesses, look for clues, and try to figure out who's lying or telling the truth. That's where the game shines. It makes you feel like a real detective. The facial animations and motion capture were groundbreaking when the game came out, and they still hold up. You can watch someone's expression closely, and it actually helps you figure out if they're hiding something, which is pretty unique. Driving around LA is fun too. The city is big, but structured, with different neighborhoods that feel distinct. You can chase suspects, get into shootouts, or just cruise and take in the sights. The world isn't open in a free-form sense, but it's detailed and full of little touches. Period cars, pedestrians in 1940s clothes, and buildings that make the city feel authentic. It's one of those games where just exploring and watching the city move around you is satisfying. The story pacing is really cinematic. Each case feels like its own mini-movie, with tension, reveals, and occasional action. Cutscenes flow directly into gameplay, so you never feel like you're leaving the story behind. The dialogue, characters, and city design all work together to make it feel like a fully realized film noir. Even quieter moments, like questioning a suspect or walking through a dark alley, build atmosphere and tension. LA Noire didn't flop, but it was kind of niche. People loved it for its story and detective work, but it's not a game for everyone because the pacing is slow and it's more about thinking than action. That said, it's one of the most cinematic games ever made. The combination of story, world, and realistic acting makes you feel like you're in a classic detective movie from start to finish.
We can put the driver in front of a judge in less than a week.